Mile marker 47 location, Cajun Pass. Rail line BNSF Southern Transcon. Year 2021. Time 2:36 a.m. Caleb worked night maintenance on freight tracks running through Cajun Pass. If you've ever driven Interstate 15 at night through that stretch of California, you've seen it. Long freight trains crawling through the mountains, their headlights cutting through desert darkness. But what most people don't know is how isolated it is out there. No houses, no streetlights, no cell signal, just tracks, wind, and miles of nothing. That night, Caleb was assigned to inspect a signal relay near mile marker 47. A routine job. A freight train crew had reported a false red signal showing stop when track was clear. Happens sometimes. Wiring glitch. Desert heat damaged. Caleb parked his maintenance truck beside the service road and grabbed his flashlight. The wind howled softly through the rocks. In the distance, he could hear a train horn echoing off the mountains. He checked his radio. Static. Normal for that area. He started walking along the tracks. The ballast rocks shifted under his boots. His flashlight beam bounced across steel rails. Everything looked fine. Signal housing intact. No visible damage. He crouched beside the relay box and opened the metal panel. Inside, the wiring looked untouched. No burn marks. No loose cables, but the signal light above him suddenly changed. From red to green. Then back to red. Then green again. Rapid. Like someone was flipping a switch. Caleb froze. There was no remote operator scheduled to test the line at that hour. He grabbed his radio again. This is Unit 12 at mile 47. Anyone toggling signals. Only static answered. Then he heard it. Footsteps on gravel. Behind him. He turned quickly. Nothing but darkness and the curve of the tracks disappearing into the pass. He swung the flashlight wide. Empty desert. The wind picked up. He told himself it was nothing. Probably loose rock shifting. He went back to the panel. The wires inside were vibrating. Slightly, as if electricity was surging through them in irregular pulses. The signal above turned solid green and stayed that way. Caleb stood up slowly. Then his radio crackled to life. Not static. A voice. Distorted. Clear the track. Caleb grabbed it. Repeat. Clear the track. The voice sounded strained, like someone whispering from far underground. He felt a vibration beneath his boots. Faint. Then stronger. A train was coming. He looked down the track. No headlights yet. But the rails were humming. He stepped off the track bed. The vibration grew louder. Still no lights. No horn. That was wrong. Freight trains always used their horn through Cajun Pass curves. Always. The vibration became violent. Gravel shaking. Air trembling. But the track ahead remained empty. Then he saw it. Not headlights, but movement. Shadows. Like something massive was moving through the darkness without light. The rails bent slightly inward. Just a little, as if weight was passing over them. But nothing visible occupied the space. Caleb stumbled backward. The sound was now overwhelming. Metal grinding. Wind splitting the thunder of wheels. Yet he saw nothing. The invisible mass rushed past him. The air pressure knocked him to the ground. Dust exploded around him. And then, silence. No train. No taillights. Nothing. The rails slowly settled back into place. Caleb's ears rang. He lay there for several seconds before sitting up. His heart pounded violently. He forced himself to stand. He shined the flashlight down the tracks, and that's when he noticed something impossible. Fresh wheel marks indented into the steel, as if something incredibly heavy had just passed. But there had been no train scheduled at 2:36 a.m. He knew the schedule by memory. He checked his watch. 2:36 a.m. Exactly. His radio crackled again. Clear this time. Dispatcher voice. Unit 12, confirm you're clear of the main line. Freight 782 approaching mile 47. Caleb's stomach dropped. What? He whispered. Headlights appeared in the distance. Real ones. Bright, blinding. The horn screamed through the canyon. Freight 782. On schedule. 2 minutes early. Caleb looked down. He was still standing too close to the track. The vibration built again. This time visible. Real. He ran off the ballast and dove behind a rock embankment as the massive freight train roared past. Wind and metal thunder shook the mountains. This time it was real. Solid. Visible. When it passed, he slowly stood. The rails were normal. No fresh indents. No distortion. Like nothing had happened. Dispatcher came back over radio. Unit 12, we got a strange log entry. Caleb swallowed. What kind of entry? A train ID past mile 47 at 2:34 a.m. Number manifest. No engine number. No crew data. He felt cold despite the desert air. That's impossible. Silence. Then dispatcher said quietly, "That's what I thought." Caleb requested reassignment after that night. He didn't tell his supervisor everything. Just said the isolation was getting to him. 3 weeks later, another maintenance worker was assigned mile marker 47 at 2:36 a.m. Signal malfunction. False red. He radioed in, reported vibrations. Then his transmission cut off mid-sentence. They found his truck the next morning. Parked properly, engine off. Flashlight lying beside the track. No sign of struggle. No footprints beyond his own. And the signal? Perfectly functional. To this day, train crews running through Cajon Pass sometimes report something strange. A sudden pressure change. Radio interference. A second set of phantom wheel sounds pacing their locomotive. Dispatch logs occasionally show a train ID that doesn't exist. Always around 2:34 a.m. Always near mile marker 47. No crew. No cargo. No destination. Just a passing weight on the rails. And if you're ever out there at night, and the signal turns green when no train is coming, step off the track. Immediately. Because something still runs that line, and it doesn't need headlights. The mile 212 pickup location, Interstate 80, near Wyoming. Time 2:18 a.m. Year 2019. Long-haul truck drivers get used to strange things. Strange sounds. Strange roads, strange people. But what happened to Marcus Dalton on Interstate 80 is something he never talks about anymore. At least, not while he's still on the road. Marcus had been driving freight for almost 12 years. He knew every major route across the U.S. But Wyoming at night? That was different. Especially along Interstate 80. Miles of empty land, no towns, no lights. Just wind and highway. That night he was hauling refrigerated cargo from Salt Lake City to Omaha. Nothing unusual. The clock on his dashboard read 2:18 a.m. The road ahead stretched endlessly into darkness. His headlights cut through the cold Wyoming air, illuminating the pale lines of asphalt. Every now and then, another truck would pass in the opposite direction. But otherwise, the highway was empty. Then Marcus saw someone standing on the shoulder. A man, just standing there. At mile marker 212, Marcus slowed slightly. That was odd. There were no exits for almost 30 miles in either direction, and nobody walks that highway at night. The man raised his hand, thumb out. Hitchhiking, Marcus sighed. Truck drivers usually avoid picking up strangers. Too risky, but something about the guy looked desperate. He wore a thin jacket, no backpack, no car nearby. Just standing under the faint glow of Marcus's headlights. Marcus pulled the truck onto the shoulder. The air brakes hissed loudly, mid-30s maybe. Pale face, messy dark hair. He opened the passenger door. "Thanks," he said quietly. His voice sounded tired. Marcus nodded. "Where you headed?" "Anywhere east." Marcus shrugged. "Hop in." The man climbed into the cab. He didn't smell like alcohol. Didn't seem nervous. Just quiet. Marcus shifted gears and pulled back onto the highway. For the next 20 minutes, neither of them spoke much. The radio played low country music. The truck hummed steadily along the road. Eventually Marcus asked, "So what happened?" "Car trouble." The hitchhiker looked out the window. "Something like that. None came." After another 10 minutes, Marcus noticed something strange. The GPS screen flickered, just for a second. Then it corrected itself. He frowned. The road ahead was perfectly straight, but the GPS arrow was spinning slowly, like the system couldn't find its location. Marcus tapped the screen. "Come on." The hitchhiker spoke softly. "That happens around here." Marcus glanced at him. "What does?" "Navigation." Marcus chuckled. "Yeah, dead zone probably." But something about the man's tone felt strange. A few miles later, Marcus saw headlights in his side mirror. Another truck approaching fast. He moved slightly right to give space, but the headlights disappeared. Marcus checked the mirror again. Nothing. That was impossible. A truck that close couldn't just vanish. He leaned forward to check the road behind him through the side window. Empty highway. No lights, no vehicles, just darkness. Marcus frowned. "Did you see that?" The hitchhiker didn't respond. He was staring straight ahead. Completely still. Marcus felt uneasy. The radio suddenly filled with static. Not normal static. It sounded like distant voices mixed with interference. Marcus turned the knob. The sound grew louder. "Mile 212. Marcus froze. The words repeated through the static. "Mile 212. Mile 212. Marcus looked at the hitchhiker. "You hearing that?" The man nodded slowly. "Yes." Marcus switched the radio off. Silence filled the cab. For the first time since the man got in the truck, Marcus noticed something else. The temperature in the cab had dropped. Cold air seeped through the vents. Marcus checked the climate control, still set to warm. But the air blowing out felt like winter. Then the hitchhiker spoke again, quietly. "Do you know what happened here?" "Nope." The man looked at him. "You stopped at the same place." Marcus blinked. "What do you mean?" The hitchhiker pointed toward the highway behind them. "Mile 212. Marcus laughed nervously. "Yeah, that's where you were standing." The man shook his head slowly. "No, that's where you stopped before." Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Before what?" The hitchhiker's voice dropped to a whisper. "The crash." Marcus slammed the brakes. The truck screeched across the empty highway. He turned toward the passenger seat. Empty. The hitchhiker was gone. The door was still closed. Seatbelt untouched. No sound. No movement. Just an empty seat. Marcus's heart hammered. He checked the mirrors. Nobody on the road. No person walking. Nothing. His radio suddenly turned on by itself. Static filled the cab again. Then a clear voice. Dispatcher tone. "Fatal collision reported. Mile marker 212. One truck driver deceased." Marcus's blood ran cold. The message repeated. Fatal collision reported. Mile marker 212. Marcus slowly looked down at his dashboard clock. 2:18 a.m., the same time he had picked up the hitchhiker. He looked back at the road. The next mile marker passed in his headlights. 212. Marcus slammed the brakes again. The truck rolled to a stop. He stared out the windshield, and there, standing on the shoulder again, was the same man, thumb raised, waiting for a ride. Marcus never stopped again. He drove straight through Wyoming without looking back. But even now, truckers running late-night routes along Interstate 80 say they sometimes see a hitchhiker near mile 212, standing alone, waiting. And if you pull over, you'll climb into your cab, ride silently for a while, then disappear, right before you reach mile marker 212.